when did you realize that not only like were you like good at swimming, but like was there like a moment that like kind of hit you that you're like, I'm a little bit different, like I'm a little bit faster than maybe like the average swimmer?
Yeah, so I would say that kind of happened my sophomore year of high school. My freshman year, I definitely I was pretty decent at swimming. I wasn't anything crazy. But I was good enough where I wanted to kind of continue. Okay, like I'll do year round. Like I'll play a couple other sports just for fun, but like I'll focus on swim a lot. Like it was definitely my best sport. Um, Sophomore year, definitely after high school season, I had some big time drops, and that was my first time winning um any state meet um at all. And we obviously had a pretty good team too. We won some relays, and that was kind of my first I could that was like my first moment of, okay, maybe I could swim in college. Like maybe I could continue this if I still have a good trajectory into junior and senior year. Maybe I could kind of continue going on. I would have never thought D1 was an option. I mean, obviously I had the goals and aspirations like, oh, it'd be cool to swim at that high of a level. But sophomore year is kind of when I started thinking about swimming at the collegiate level. And then junior year, kind of after high school states, after the club season was more so when I pictured more of a D1 school where I was like, okay, I can compete at a high level. Let me see where I can go.
Did something like click during that time? Was it like form? Was it like, did you grow quite a bit? Or was it more of just like you finally started to kind of realize like potential that you had? Like, was it like a coach that kind of pushed you a little bit more? Or was it just one of those random things that it just happened, like you don't know exactly why, but like you just kicked into gear and that's the end of the story?
Yeah, so I'm naturally very tall. I'm 6'5". So that's kind of my freshman to sophomore year is kind of when I hit a bit of a growth spurt. Um, I don't want to attribute everything to that, but that definitely helped a little bit. I think just the biggest thing I can really say is just kind of getting into the flow of training. Um, my freshman year obviously was a little like freshman year of high school was obviously a little bit of an adjustment. It was like new practice schedule, haven't my first high school sport, hadn't really known what it was like. And then obviously that was 2021, so it was still with all like the COVID implications. So sophomore year was my first kind of full year. I knew what I was doing. There was no more restrictions. I kind of just got into the flow of training. Wasn't doing like any intensive lifting programs or anything. I kind of just set into the flow of things, and I think that's what helped me a lot. It wasn't like I was mentally strained in any way. I was just enjoying myself, having fun with it. Um, which I think is a super important thing that gets overlooked a lot. So I would attribute a lot of my success to that.
Yeah, and it's one of the things about like when you kind of like start to like enjoy your sport. I'm not saying you didn't prior, but when you kind of just start getting into it, starting to enjoy it, and then you start seeing that potential in it, then you start winning state championships, then you start seeing schools calling, emails, stuff comes in. Like there has to be so much going on in your head during that time. Like it had to be like overwhelming, not only winning state championships, but also having like schools be like, hey, we want you. Like, I'm sure it's a cool feeling, right? Like, I'm sure you're probably like, this is the greatest feeling in the world. Like, there's so many schools or there's D1 schools that want me, but at the same time, like, was it a little overwhelming or was it more of just like an enjoyable process where you're like, hey, like, I've won a state championship and I'm going to be swimming D1?
It it was definitely overwhelming. I mean, because you think about it, you go from just kind of having fun in high school. I mean, school's obviously how you make it. Like, it can be challenging if you take hard classes, but for the most part, it's not really anything too crazy. Um, so you go from that kind of um, and being on top of the world, like winning state championships, like you're the best in that meet. And then you get a college email you, and it's like there's a whole nother world that you had no idea about. And just having to think about that, not only from a swim perspective, but also, wow, okay, school keeps going, and like my life will go on after high school. Um, and yeah, it does not necessarily get easier from there was kind of a scary thought. I mean, it's not something you're normally thinking about. A lot of sophomores or juniors in high school sometimes haven't even started thinking about college yet, and then you're an athlete who's getting colleges who want you to go there. So it's definitely a unique scenario, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but it's also a cool place to be in where it's like, wow, I'm good enough at my sport where I can go across the nation and possibly compete for somebody. So it's cool. It's a little overwhelming, but it was definitely like super surreal to have that happen.
And you talked about obviously like high school, like having fun, like classes, stuff like that. But like when you finally start kind of getting that traction a little bit and wanting those schools across the country that really want you to swim, and turns out you actually went to one of them legitimately across the country from Michigan. Is that like really when it kind of starts to switch a little bit? Like you have to have a little bit of a different mentality, mindset. Like, is that when it truly kind of starts? I don't want to say starts feeling like a job, but you might have to approach it a little bit different. Like, it's still supposed to be fun. You're still hanging out with your friends, but now you have expectations on yourself. And we'll talk about expectations at Texas A&M because I'm sure it's quite a bit different than prior to Texas A&M. But is that really like the moment when like things started to change? Like you looked at swimming a little bit differently?
Yeah, I would say especially when I got my first few emails from colleges, like from bigger Division 1 schools was when I would say the switch kind of flipped in my head of wow, this could pay for my college. This could be like a important part of my life that I need to focus on a lot. Um I always try to kind of have the mindset, yeah, this is my job, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna enjoy it any less. Like I love the sport of swimming. I think there's like such an art to it. Um, but yeah, definitely the switch flipped from it being kind of just a hobby of mine to okay, let me focus on this really heavily and be the best I can be at it.
Yeah, and I think your point of like, yes, there is that switch that happens, but still wanting to enjoy it is extremely important as well. Because I feel like when that switch happens for some people, it again becomes more of a job, right? Like, and maybe they lose the fact that they enjoy it. Maybe it's like super serious the whole point. But I think with you, the way that you approached it probably really helped when it came to the transition to swimming in college. Do you think that was a few like key factors that maybe made that transition a little bit easier? I want to put the word easier because I'm sure that transition was not easy whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a difficult transition, just all of those things added up with the fact that I'm so far away. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I just love this sport, it's just like moving away for a job. Like if you move away for a job that you're gonna like truly love, it does make it easier. It doesn't make it easy. Like it's still a difficult transition either way, but definitely the fact that I I wanna say obsession with the sport, even though that might sound a little weird, but it's just like an obsession with kind of knowing more about the sport, knowing more people in the sport, knowing more like facts about the sport, and just being better at it definitely helps a lot because then it gives you that drive that kind of makes you ignore the other outside factors.
Yeah, and I feel like that word might have a little bit of maybe a stigma behind it. Like someone might hear that and say, that's weird to have an obsession about swimming. But you really have to think about like college athletes as a whole, D1, D2, D3. Like you have to have some sort of like obsession or mindset about your sport in order to do it because you have the physical toll, the mental toll that takes on you. And I'm sure probably at the D1 level, it's probably magnified compared to maybe the D2, D3. I don't obviously want to have any hate or have any like slack on any of those divisions because like anyone that performs in college is a really good athlete in itself. But like you have the expectations, you have the mental toughness that has to deal with it. Like how different is that at the D1 level when you're kind of making that transition, the physical toll, the mental toll that takes on you having that expectation?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just the pressure you kind of have. Depending on what club you're from, obviously there's some pretty elite clubs out there that have a lot of high level athletes, but I would say college is most people's first experience being on an elite team where everyone is good in their own way. Obviously, there's different events. And I mean, being a sprinter, like I'm not going to be able to do as good as the distance swimmers in their distance events, and they're not going to be able to sprint as good as me. But everyone is kind of good in their own discipline, like really good in their own discipline. So it's a lot of pressure where it's like, okay, I don't want to fall behind because it's really easy to see the people who are lacking in the effort category. It's easy to kind of point them out. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a mental challenge to try to stay ahead of the game. Um, Kind of always wanted to be one step ahead, not only of the competition, but also kind of yourself. You want to give yourself the best opportunity you can every day to get better.